At the beginning of the film, we're immediately introduced to Linda Little, a woman who looks extremely busy at her desk. Linda is known as a hard-working employee and one of the key brains in the company where she works. Not long after, Donovan, her co-worker, shows up. He approaches Linda to take the presentation files that she had prepared herself earlier. Linda actually wants to go to the meeting room, but Donovan refuses. He says Linda must be tired, so he'll handle the presentation. Donovan also promises that Linda's name will still be listed as the project designer, even showing a paper with the name Linda Little on it. After that, Donovan leaves. Linda tries to chat with the coworker next to her, but gets ignored instead. Not long after, she sees Donovan coming out of a room, heading to the meeting room. Curious, Linda secretly follows him. In front of the meeting room, Linda sees something that disappoints her. Donovan deliberately throws away the paper with her name on it. That night, the scene moves to Linda's house. She's cooking while venting to her pet parrot. Linda talks about how upset she is with Donovan for stealing her idea. After finishing cooking, she moves to the TV. While eating bread with her bird, Linda seriously watches an adventure show titled Survival. The next day, at the office, the atmosphere is busier than usual because an important person is arriving. They introduce the company's new leader, Bradley Preston. At that moment, Linda is casually eating a tuna sandwich at her desk. As soon as she sees Bradley walking by, Linda panics and quickly hides her sandwich. Linda then gathers the courage to stop Bradley. She explains that Appendix D, which Donovan is now claiming, is actually her work. With food still stuck on her face, Linda even grabs Bradley's hand to convince him.
Time a lot of miles on them, and they...
Meanwhile, Bradley is seen talking with his assistant in a room. They discuss a big project in Thailand that actually comes from Appendix D created by Linda. In the middle of the conversation, Bradley asks about Linda. But instead of being interested, he feels bothered by Linda's body odor and her messy appearance. Suddenly, Bradley feels something strange on his hand. After Linda grabbed it earlier, he forces his assistant to smell his hand. At first, the assistant refuses, but eventually admits that Bradley's hand smells like tuna fish. From that moment on, Bradley really starts to dislike Linda and finds her disgusting. During lunch break, Linda sees Donovan and Bradley looking close, curious. She asks her coworker. Her coworker explains that Donovan and Bradley have known each other since school, even being in the same golf community. Even worse, there's news that Donovan will soon be promoted to vice president of the company. Hearing that, Linda is clearly shaken. Her eyes start to well up because she feels her work has been taken just like that. Without thinking much, Linda immediately gets up and heads to Bradley's office. When she arrives at the door, Linda remains polite and asks for permission to enter, especially since Bradley has a guest. After the guest leaves, Linda starts expressing her protest. She feels it's unfair Donovan, who has only worked for 6 months, can get promoted, while Linda, who has worked for 7 years, stays in the same position. But Bradley shows no guilt. Instead, he mocks Linda with quite hurtful words, from her appearance to small things, like food stuck in her teeth. Bradley then says, if Linda wants fairness, she has to revise Appendix D. If the revision is good, she'll be taken to Thailand. In the middle of the situation, Bradley's fiancée enters the room. Her name is Zuri. Out of respect for Zuri, Linda chooses to leave. But before she exits, Bradley stops her and says that Linda smells bad, even comparing her smell to tuna fish. Those words completely crush Linda. Without saying much, she immediately takes her things and leaves the office. In the car, Linda can't hold back her emotions anymore. She breaks down in tears after all the pressure she's been feeling. The departure day to Thailand finally arrives. At the runway, Linda tries to greet Bradley, Donovan, and 2 other male co-workers, but instead of a warm response, her greeting is met with cynical looks. Bradley casually spits out the gum he's chewing. Donovan also immediately scolds Linda, as if she's the one overreacting. Once inside the plane, Linda tries to focus on her work, but the atmosphere turns uncomfortable. Donovan suddenly brings his laptop closer to Bradley and plays an old video. It turns out to be a video of Linda practicing survival techniques. Seeing the video, Bradley and the other 2 men burst into non-stop laughter. From that moment, Linda realizes she's being humiliated in front of them. Not long after, the situation changes drastically. The plane suddenly experiences violent turbulence. Donovan and the others who aren't seated are thrown up to the ceiling of the plane. Only Bradley remains safe because he stays in his seat. The situation gets worse when the plane door comes off and catches fire, and one of the co-workers is even sucked out. Inside the plane, everything is chaotic. Items are falling everywhere. Linda herself is still safe because her seatbelt is properly fastened. Amid the chaos, Donovan, who is almost thrown out, tries to hold on by grabbing Linda's leg. But instead of helping, Donovan climbs up and even chokes Linda to save himself. In panic, Linda feels around the plane floor and finds a fork. Without thinking, she stabs Donovan's hand with it until his grip loosens and he falls out of the plane. But it's not over yet. Not long after that, the plane crashes into the ocean. Linda tries to swim to the surface with all her strength, but because of exhaustion, she eventually passes out and gets carried away by the waves. The next day, Linda wakes up and finds herself stranded on an island she doesn't recognize. Even though her head still feels dizzy, she tries to get up and walk along the beach. That's where she finds Bradley lying unconscious, with injuries on his face and leg. From here, things start to change. Linda, who was previously underestimated, begins to show her abilities. With the survival knowledge that was once laughed at, Linda starts taking control of the situation. She makes a sharp tool from a rock, cuts large leaves to use as a roof, then digs the ground to collect rainwater using a coconut shell. Night falls. The rain pours quite heavily, but Linda keeps going while taking care of Bradley, who is still unconscious. The next day, Bradley finally opens his eyes. He sees Linda drinking rainwater from a coconut shell. Linda immediately approaches and helps him drink, while explaining that he's been unconscious for 1.5 days. Not only that, Linda has also managed to catch fish and start a fire to cook it. Patiently, Linda tries to feed Bradley even though he initially refuses. In the afternoon, Linda shows her catch a large snail. But Bradley thinks it's a waste of time. He tells Linda to write "help" on the sand instead. An argument breaks out. Eventually, Bradley mocks Linda's worn-out shoes. His words hurt her, and Linda immediately leaves, abandoning Bradley, who is still shouting in hunger. Time passes. Bradley can only wait. By late afternoon, Linda still hasn't returned, making him start to get annoyed. That night, the wind blows very strongly. Unexpectedly, a tree branch that Bradley is leaning on suddenly falls and hits him. With his leg not fully healed, Bradley can't do much and just lies on the sand until morning. When morning comes, Linda finally returns. She brings water and a wooden spear. Linda tells Bradley to stay where he is because she wants to go into the forest to hunt a pig. Carefully, Linda enters the dense forest. She feels scared for a moment, especially when she hears sounds from the bushes. Not long after, a pig appears, and Linda immediately hunts it. Sometime later, Linda returns with her body covered in blood from the hunt. That night, they both eat roasted pig. In that moment, Linda laughs and says that at the office, Bradley might be her boss, but on this island, she's the one who decides their survival. The next day, Linda goes back into the forest and accidentally discovers a beautiful waterfall. She immediately takes the chance to bathe, but while she's bathing, she spots a ship in the distance. Linda runs straight to the beach and screams for help. Unfortunately, the ship is too far away, and her effort doesn't work. 2 weeks pass. Linda and Bradley are still stuck on the island, and things are getting harder. Bradley starts complaining out of boredom, and once again blames Linda for not writing "help" on the sand. Linda explains that method isn't necessarily effective. Because of the constant complaints, Linda finally challenges Bradley to build his own shelter. With his legs still limping, Bradley tries to prove himself. Bradley starts stacking wood, but fails over and over again. Meanwhile, Linda looks relaxed, sitting while weaving leaves into a hat. The next morning, Bradley slowly opens his eyes. In front of him, there's already a big "help" sign written on the sand. Meanwhile, Linda, who has just finished hunting, casually walks past him carrying a lot of fish. Hungry, Bradley tries to survive on his own. He catches a raw shrimp nearby and immediately eats it greedily. But before he can finish, he suddenly throws up because of the bad taste, even causing his tongue to turn dark. In the end, Bradley lowers his ego. He approaches Linda and apologizes for all his behavior. Deep down, he also hopes Linda will share her food. Luckily, Linda stays kind and lets him eat with her. After eating, Linda takes Bradley somewhere. According to her, Bradley's leg has improved enough. They arrive at a high cliff. There, Linda teaches Bradley how to tell the difference between poisonous berries and safe ones. She also warns him not to go near areas with X-shaped rocks. From that, it's clear that while Bradley couldn't move freely, Linda had secretly explored the island in great detail. But as they're about to climb down, Linda accidentally steps on a fragile part of the cliff. She slips and ends up hanging from a tree branch. In that situation, Bradley quickly grabs her hand. Thanks to his effort, Linda is saved and falls right onto Bradley's body. After that incident, they climb down together. Linda brings some food, including mushrooms and bananas, which they then roast together. For them, it becomes one of the best meals they've had on the island. Their conversation starts to flow. Linda talks about making alcohol from fermented fruit and invites Bradley to try it that night.
Been working on it for a few. All right.
Night falls, and they actually try Linda's homemade drink. The atmosphere becomes more open, and they start sharing personal stories. Linda says that her husband died in an accident while driving drunk. Meanwhile, Bradley admits that his relationship with his father was bad, and he used to be treated harshly. That night becomes a moment where they begin to understand each other. The next day, the weather suddenly turns into a storm. The shelter they built is at risk of being destroyed, and they try to hold it together, but fail. In the end, they go into the forest and find a cave to take shelter. Because of the cold temperature, they're forced to remove their clothes to avoid hypothermia. Bradley hugs Linda to keep her body warm. In the middle of that situation, Bradley asks Linda to work together to build a new shelter in a safer and higher place. They immediately start planning it. Bradley even promises to cook dinner for them. But when night comes, something unexpected happens. Linda eats Bradley's cooking without suspicion, but after just one bite, she suddenly feels nauseous and collapses. Liquid comes out of her mouth, a sign that something is wrong. It turns out, without Linda knowing, Bradley has poisoned her food. While Linda lies helpless, Bradley goes into the forest, takes the driftwood Linda had prepared, and tries to escape alone by sea. All of this is partially seen by Linda, who is still half conscious. However, Bradley's plan doesn't go smoothly. Big waves hit his raft and destroy it, causing him to drown. In that critical moment, Bradley sees someone approaching. It's Linda, who, despite still being weak, comes to save him. She pulls Bradley to the shore and tries to revive him by pumping his chest. The next morning, Linda's condition starts to improve. Bradley tries to explain what really happened. Linda understands that Bradley isn't used to depending on others. That statement makes Bradley feel ashamed. Even so, Linda remains kind. She even gives Bradley a special grilled octopus. A few days later, Linda is picking mangoes alone. Suddenly, she sees a boat approaching the island. When the boat arrives, a beautiful woman steps off. It turns out to be Zuri, coming with an old sailor. Zuri immediately approaches Linda, relieved to finally find them. She asks if Bradley is safe, and Linda says that he's fine. Linda then asks, who knows the location of this island? Zuri explains that only she and the old sailor know about it. Hearing that, Linda invites them into the forest toward the cliff. When they reach the edge, Linda pauses for a moment to tie her shoelaces and tells Zuri to walk ahead. Suddenly, the ground beneath Zuri collapses. She falls and can only cling to the edge of the cliff. The old sailor quickly tries to help, pulling Zuri's hand while shouting. Meanwhile, Linda just stands still, watching the situation without moving. Another day passes. Bradley is seen entering the forest to hunt a pig. He moves slowly and carefully, but accidentally steps on a dry branch, which scares the pig away. Not long after, Bradley notices something strange on the beach. When he gets closer, it turns out to be a human hand, partially buried. On its ring finger is Zuri's diamond ring. From that moment, Bradley immediately realizes something is wrong. His expression changes, and he starts crying while holding the hand. Bradley's thoughts go straight to one person. Overcome with emotion, he's convinced that Linda did all of this. Without thinking, he runs into the forest to find her. It doesn't take long before he finds Linda on another side of the beach. As soon as they meet, Bradley immediately accuses Linda of killing someone. Linda, seeing the ring in Bradley's hand, understands what he's talking about. She explains that it all started when Zuri slipped, but Bradley doesn't believe her. In anger, he attacks Linda with a knife. Linda doesn't stay still. She immediately runs into the forest while Bradley keeps chasing her. Inside the forest, Bradley searches everywhere. Eventually, he finds Linda's shoe near a large tree. Suddenly, Linda appears from behind and immediately attacks. They both fall and get into a fight. The knife Bradley was holding slips out and falls to the ground. The situation becomes even more brutal when Bradley grabs Linda's hair so hard that part of her scalp tears off. While Linda is on the ground, Bradley even tries to gouge her eyes, but Linda fights back by biting his hand until it bleeds. Linda then backs away while showing Zuri's diamond ring, which turns out to be inside her mouth. Without hesitation, she chews the ring and swallows it right in front of Bradley. That only makes him even angrier, and he attacks again. In the chaos, Linda manages to feel around the ground and finds the knife that fell earlier. Just as she's about to attack, Bradley backs away and runs into the forest in fear. Linda chases after him without stopping. A while later, Bradley looks exhausted and leans against a tree. That's when he sees a luxurious villa near a cliff with an X-shaped rock. Hoping to survive, he immediately runs there and bangs on the door while shouting for help. Turns out, the door isn't locked. Bradley goes inside, turns on the lights, opens the fridge, and immediately drinks the water inside. But the atmosphere suddenly changes when the lights go out. From the speakers, Linda's voice can be heard. In panic, Bradley tries to find a knife in the kitchen. But all the drawers are empty. Linda, through the speakers, explains that she has thrown away all the knives. She even mocks Bradley, saying the only knife left is in her hand. That's when Linda starts revealing everything. It turns out the knife they used in the forest came from the villa. Linda also admits that they could have been rescued from the beginning. She once saw a ship passing by, but deliberately let it go. Even more, Linda had been observing the island for a long time, including the people who came to the villa for maintenance. She even memorized the door access code. All of this was done because Linda wanted to live alone with Bradley on the island without anyone interfering. Calmly, Linda admits that she is the one who killed Zuri. She also says that she hit the old sailor with a rock before eventually pushing them off the cliff. Hearing all that, Bradley is completely terrified. Bradley tries to destroy the CCTV cameras so he won't be watched, but Linda keeps talking, as if she already controls everything. As Bradley approaches a room, Linda suddenly appears, holding a rifle. She's ready to shoot him on the spot. But Bradley tries to stop the situation by saying that he also loves Linda. That statement makes Linda pause for a moment, but not long after, she realizes something is missing from the wall, a bullhorn. It turns out Bradley has taken it. In an instant, Bradley attacks. Another fight breaks out. Bradley manages to grab the rifle, while Linda holds a golf club. Bradley immediately tries to shoot, but the rifle has no bullets. He's been tricked. Without hesitation, Linda swings the golf club toward Bradley's head. After that, the story immediately shifts. A crowded and luxurious golf tournament is shown. A reporter named Polly is covering the event. It turns out to be an annual celebrity golf tournament that has been running for a long time. There, the main figure being covered is Linda Little. Now, Linda has become a successful and famous person. She's known as a highly popular, motivational novel writer. In her interview, Linda tells her story of surviving alone after a plane crash. In the public's eyes, Linda is seen as strong for surviving on a remote island without anyone's help. Everyone believes that Bradley, Donovan, and the others died because of the accident. But the reality is far different.